Hey everyone, welcome back to another Jump Force video. Today I would like to delve deeper into Season 2 speculation and discussion. I've already made a video talking about my rough impressions of the DLC roadmap, for lack of a better word, as well as giving some predictions where I think I can. In that video I stated that the JoJo character is very hard to predict because there's so many different ways they could go with it, so I would like to talk more about that topic in today's video. I'd like to quickly mention that I'm not the best person to consult regarding this because my knowledge and exposure to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is far less than many other people's, but I would still like to bring up a few points and develop further on points I made in my previous Season 2 related video. So let's address the elephant in the room, Giorno Giovanna. Unfortunately I haven't watched JoJo Part 5 yet, so I can't comment on Giorno's importance to the overall series. However, I would like to mention that Giorno is easily the most requested JoJo character and one of the most requested characters, period. So how likely is Giorno to come into the game? Well, extremely likely. I'm not the greatest at analysing these content patterns, but one thing I have managed to identify is the tendency of adding characters who are very popular and by extension can help to generate a lot of revenue. Now this isn't true for every DLC character, Biscuit Kruger is a prime example of that, but let's look at a few of the others. 2 My Hero Academia characters in the first season of DLC is a no-brainer, with it being one of, if not the most popular new age currently running weekly Shonen Jump series. And that's not to mention their 3rd My Hero Academia DLC character, Shoto Todoroki, easily one of the most popular characters from the series, up there with the likes of Bakugo and Deku. And looking at the rest of the Season 2 lineup, it looks very much like Bandai Namco are trying to please fans of both new and old series, as well as do what is most profitable for them. I'm still sad about no Black Clover, but the Season 2 roadmap is looking promising. We see Hunter x Hunter, which is highly regarded as one of the best that shonen anime and manga has to offer, Bleach, which is extremely popular and extremely big, especially with the return of the anime, and Yu Yu Hakusho, which is a classic among weekly Shonen Jump followers and fans. So yeah, I believe the sheer popularity of Giorno is enough to get him into the game. However, let's talk about a few other characters who have a chance to get in and reasons for each of them. Next, I would like to bring up a topic of choosing a character based on their chronological depiction in the game. Now, let me explain what that means and go over why this argument doesn't hold as much merit as some may believe. The 2 JoJo characters currently in Jump Force are Jotaro and Dio, the protagonist and antagonist of Part 3 respectively. So using this argument, that would mean that Bandai would choose to add a character who is from that part of the story to fit in with the timeline. This same logic can be applied to many other characters in the game. For instance, if we look at the Hunter x Hunter characters, we see Gon and Killua donning their attire from the Greed Island arc, and so the Hunter x Hunter DLC character in Season 1 was Biscuit Kruger, who was introduced in the Greed Island arc and was one of the main characters within that arc. So using this logic, let's choose a character from Part 3 of JoJo. While looking at the Stardust Crusaders, we have Jotaro, who is obviously already in the game, Avdol, Polnareff, Kakyoin and Joseph. We'll get to Joseph later. Assuming they wanted to add a true stand user into the game from Part 3 and one of the good guys, I think the most popular choice would be Polnareff. Both Avdol and Kakyoin are important to the story obviously since they are main characters, but they don't feel quite as individualized as Polnareff, if that makes sense. I don't want to sit here trying to explain that because I will end up rambling on for a long time, but Polnareff ticks all the boxes of a Stardust Crusader who uses a stand and is obviously an important character to the story. The thing is, the argument of chronology doesn't make much sense because whilst it is true for a number of series in Jump Force, there is one glaring outlier, Boruto. Boruto and the current Naruto characters in the way they are depicted should not exist at the same time, which could be a one-off, but it does show that Bandai are willing to ignore the argument of chronology in the interest of adding certain characters. It's for that reason I think that Polnareff won't come into the game at all. If Bandai are to choose a character based on some of these conditions I mentioned previously, then I think Polnareff will be the character they choose, but I don't think that that would be the case in the interest of diversity and especially in the interest of money. Next, let's talk about a character that I think will be the most likely to enter Jump Force, only slightly beaten out by Giorno, and that's Joseph Joestar. Joseph can tick many boxes and criteria for a character to be chosen. He's incredibly popular amongst fans, he's very important to the story, and he is present in Part 3 as a main character. Whilst the general request is for Giorno to be in the game, Joseph Joestar's requests do come quite close, with many arguing that a Hamon user would be more interesting, as well as Joseph being a generally more beloved character, and personally I can stand by this. If you go with young Joseph, so the part 2 version, yes, you will be ignoring the argument I mentioned regarding Polnareff, but once again that argument isn't as ironclad as some may think it is. I would prefer to see young Joseph as well because his gameplay could be very interesting, utilising his powerful hamon alongside his Tommy gun and clackers and whatever other references you can fit into the character. This argument I'm about to make doesn't hold much weight, but I still think it's worth mentioning. Joseph Joestar was playable in J-Star's Victory Versus, which means that they already have an idea of how this character will animate and what his moves will be. I would absolutely love to see them go over the top with this character and just make him as amazing as he can be. All of the JoJo poses and all the cinematics, and just really encapsulate what that show is with that character. Also, with each DLC character, the DLC pack includes customization items and moves that you can add to your CAC. Currently there's no abilities that JoJo or Dio use that are applicable to CACs, so I think that's a decent argument to consider for why they might add a Hamon user instead of a stand user. If it's not young Joseph however, old Joseph could still be the choice. Of course it's the same character, but the moveset and animations would differ significantly. Old Joseph would still use his Hamon, which is what people want, and he is technically a stand user and his stand can be used for combat despite that not being its main use, and of course he's a part 3 character as well. So old Joseph does make a fair amount of sense, but ultimately I think if they want to add Joseph, then why not just go for the young version. Just writing this script has made me realise how much I actually want to see Joseph in the game, the young version, so fingers crossed it's him. And finally, before we end the video, I want to quickly mention one more character. Now I only mention this character to cover absolutely all bases, because there's still some argument for this character, although she doesn't carry as much weight as the rest of them. This character is called Jolene. Jolene is the protagonist of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6, which hasn't actually been animated yet. There's a couple of points I want to bring up for this character. For one, and obviously the least important part, is that she's a female character. I think this argument holds zero merit for the most part, but many people still like to bring up female representation as a reason for choosing a character, so that's why I just wanted to mention it here and get it out of the way. Anyway, let's get into the actual arguments. Firstly, she can be used as a marketing tactic for Part 6, as I assume that will be animated within the next year and a half or so. Whilst Bleach has enough characters as it is, the Bleach character slot can be a clear reference to the return of the anime, so a new character would definitely pique many people's interest, and this argument can be used for JoJo as well. So many might think, well, Part 6 isn't an anime, so why would they want to add this character? Well, when we look at Jump Force, the game is actually a celebration of manga, not a celebration of anime. That's why there's certain things in the game that haven't appeared in their respective anime series. Now this is limited mostly to certain moves and potentially customization pieces, not that I'm so sure on that one. So it might be a bit of a stretch to think that they would add an entire character who isn't in an anime yet, but still it's a decent point to bring up. So yeah guys, that's all I have to say regarding this topic. I thought the JoJo character slot was the most interesting and the most controversial for DLC Season 2, so I thought I would collect some thoughts and opinions I've heard online, as well as put my own thoughts forward to give reasons for and against certain characters entering Season 2. Based on the fan popularity, I think the most likely choices are Joseph Joestar and Giorno, and that assumes that we're ignoring any kind of timeline. But even then, the main options lie in Polnareff or older Joseph Joestar. Despite all of this, the argument for Jolene is still something to consider, although I don't think she'll make it in. In my opinion, the character I would like to see the most is young Joseph Joestar. The prospect of his moveset is the most appealing to me, and he would probably be easier to translate onto a CAC than a stand user. But honestly, I would be happy with any character because I'm sure they'll do a great job with them. Anyway, thank you to everyone who has stuck it out until the end, I really appreciate that. Go ahead and leave a comment if you have anything to say about this, and who you think the JoJo character could be. I'm really excited for Jump Force Season 2, and can't wait to get my hands on some new characters. That'll be all for today guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.